And one of the things that I was kind of proud of when I was doing these stories eventually it wound up to be 50 from Dearborn, Ohio, Switzerland, Ripley, and Franklin counties that were killed in Vietnam. The mom and dad lived at Hamilton, Ohio. So I called them and told them what I was doing. They were a little apprehensive at first, skeptical. And I said, I'm legitimate. I'm not trying to make a dime off of this. And we're going to have the moving wall come in. And so I went up and visited them. And the dad, Elmer, had a stroke, and he was limited movement on his left side. Real nice man, and his wife. And got to talking to her. And so then she started getting this stuff out and showing it to me in pictures. And her son's name was David Schneider, David Alan Schneider. And he's buried at Brookville because she was originally from Brookville. So I told Paul, I said, I'll be up there for 15, 20, 30 minutes. Well, I was there about 3 hours with him. And I said, if you'll trust me with this stuff, I'm going to take it to a CVS and I'm going to make copies of this stuff from my records and I'll bring it back. So it was 3 or 4 days later when I got back, and I called her. I said, I'll be there in about 20 minutes. And I stopped at the memorial at the edge of Hamilton, and they had his name on that memorial there. And so I came up, knocked on the door, and she come to the door and she was crying. She said, come on in, I want to show you what you did. And I thought, oh no, what have I done? I stirred up a can of worms, back up all these memories for this woman. And she had told me the story of when Davy was killed, that she was having these terrible dreams. And she said, I told Elmer, her name was Ruth, and Ruth said, I told Elmer, Davy's bleeding from the head. And she said, I've ripped the sheets up and took my sweater off and everything and tried to stop that bleeding. She said, I can't stop that bleeding. And he said, well, you need to go down and talk to the priest. You're going to be a nervous wreck. You're going to drive yourself nuts. So about 2 days later came that knock at the door. And she went to the door and there was 2 Army officers there. And she said, oh my God, my son's Davy's dead and he's been shot in the head. And so they had this shocked look and they said, did somebody already call you and talk to you? And she said, no, I've been having these dreams. And they said, well, your son David was killed in action in Vietnam. He's 18 years old from a head wound, gunshot wound to the head. And so when I went, she said, I want to show you what you did. And so I came in, she had these albums out on a big coffee table. He said, she's about to drive me nuts again. So she stayed up all night working on this stuff, and all of his letters she put in those albums, all of his pictures. She said, no longer will this stuff just be stuck back in a closet. It's going to be out here where people can see it. I'm proud of my son.